Okay, you take the lead.
All right.
Three, two.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're at in the world. I'm Nicole Sackage, and we're here with Grant Cameron, and this is our third interview in a row, all related to triangle craft sightings. And tonight we're here with our pal Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and he's going to share his triangle sighting experiences with us. So, Dave, we'll just let you jump right on in.
Well, first off, I figured after everything that's gone on in the UFO world in the last 24 hours, 48 hours, that I would wear my Marvin the Martian toque, not a beanie, it's a toque, and I would, show my representation of the alien world that is amongst us here, because you know what? We're starting to learn, and there may be some people who disagree with this, but we've got aliens. And we got to accept that we got aliens. No, but anyways, I have seen two black triangles in my life, and this happened way before Spaced Out Radio was even a thought, and they happened within a few months of each other. And one happened in 2013, the other one happened in 2014. When I started going through, and a lot of people who have heard my story will understand that I sometimes use the word, and I don't know if it's the correct terminology or not, but I had a lot of fast tracking going on, and I had a lot of real weird things happen quickly. And my critics will come out there and say it's impossible for one person to be able to experience all of this stuff. The one thing that I do try and do is, with my journalism background and knowing and understanding what journalism and journalistic integrity is, which I can't say as much on the rest of the UFO field. If I lie, I'm lying to my audience. If I lie, I am lying to my guests. If I lie, I'm ruining a an opportunity to you know expand my own credibility in this field. And I think we could all understand that for those of us who have experiences, whether it's paranormal, UFOs, Bigfoot, whatever it may be, it's hard to come out publicly. It's even harder if you put your name out there as not only a face for radio like I have with a voice for print, or you have the understanding that you don't want to pull the rug over the people's eyes, and you're almost willing to be a sacrificial lamb as part of what is going on. So back in 2013, I had this uncanny ability around my friends that I could summon UFOs. And I don't know how I was able to do it. I remember looking on the internet to see if, and Google was my best friend and my worst enemy back then, because the experiences that I was having were not very, how can you put it? They were always close to what I was experiencing, but never the same. And it was enough to, wet the whistle a little bit, but it wasn't enough to get any sound out of it. And I found that very frustrating. So I started testing myself in trying to bring UFOs in, and it would almost happen like mini premonitions, where I recall the one time when I saw a black triangle, and I did this for a number of my close friends back then. But we had that day, I just felt, you know what, something's going to happen tonight. So I called up my friends, and I'm no longer friends with these people, but they were friends at the time. And I said, what are you and your wife doing tonight? And this gentleman says, we're doing nothing. I said, why don't you come over on my patio? Because I had one of those little patio fireplaces, you know. And I said, come on over. We'll light a fire. We'll have some beers. We'll play some music, and we'll watch the UFOs fly over. And he goes, UFOs? He goes, how do you know they're going to fly over? I said, I don't. I said, I just got a feeling. And he kind of laughs. He goes, well, the beer and the music and the fire sound great. He goes, yeah, we'll be over around, when do you want us there? I said, well, come over about 8:30, 9 o'clock. I said, that's when it starts to get dark. because this happened in the spring, and you got to wait a little bit for it to get dark. And he's like, yeah, no problem. So it got to about 9:30 that night where, and I'm going to quickly draw this out for you, where we were sitting around, we got some music blaring, probably Guns N' Roses, because I'm pretty in tune with that. And my house that I lived in Mission, British Columbia at the time was my patio faced south. So about 10, 11 miles south of me was the Washington state border. And I lived up on a mountainside, so I could see right into Washington state. And I had a beautiful view of Mount Baker to the southeast, and Chilliwack, British Columbia was to the east of me. Vancouver was to the west. South of me was Abbotsford, and then Sumas, Washington. And so we were standing on the patio, and I was kind of facing east. And that's when at about 9:30 or so, we saw the first one. And I'm not a big beer drinker. If anybody has ever been around me, I can make one beer last about 4 hours. I just a real slow beer drinker. Tequila, that's another story. But that's only for Vegas. But I'm not a real big drinker at all. And so here I was sipping on a beer. I'm talking to my buddy, and I'm kind of facing him like I'm talking to you guys right now. And I kind of looked beyond his shoulder because it was a clear night sky. There's no moon out. It was a moonless night. And all of a sudden, I see something like that. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So the two round parts on it are like silver orbs.
Mhm.
And in between that rod was like the street lights, that street light orange that we all have now. That's what it looked like. So that street light orange on the bar with the two round orbs. And what was real interesting about that was there was no contrail, there was no spark trail like a meteor would. And we watched this thing, and I pointed at my friends. I'm like, look, there it is. And there was a few swear words in between. And my friend at the time, his wife came from a very Catholic family, so she's like, "Oh my God, Holy Jesus, and Mother Mary," and starting to throw a few Hail Marys out. She's starting to freak out, and she's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "I don't know." I said, "I told you we'd see something tonight," and sure enough, this rod goes from southwest east to northwest, and that was kind of cool, right? And we were freaking out. My buddy's like, "How did you know this was going to happen?" I said, "I don't know. I don't know how I can tell. I just know when it's going to happen." I said, "But here's the weird part. I don't think we're done yet." And he's like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, I think there's going to be more. Don't go inside. There's something going to happen. I don't know when. I just got a feeling there's going to be more." So about 25 minutes later, we're still talking about this rod. And when you get close to the bottom of a glass or a bottle of beer, you kind of tilt your head back, right? So here I am, I'm left-handed, so I'll go like this, tilting my head back, and I look above my house, and I said, "Oh my gosh, what the F is that?" And my buddy says, "What?" And I went, "Holy F, holy F, holy F." And his wife starts, "What?" She starts freaking out, and I pointed up. Because right above my house, I mean, it only looked a few thousand feet, but there was a black triangle sitting over my house. And, when we look at black triangles, I'm just my horrible artist rendering here. When we look at black triangles, we always see the three lights in the corner. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Well, here's the problem with mine is that rod that we saw earlier, it was connected underneath. And the entire undercarriage of this black triangle was connected by these same orange rods, kind of like that. The same orange rods with
Wow.
the silver balls, silver balls, with the same silver orbs underneath the carriage. And we are freaking out, absolutely freaking out. And this thing heads straight north. There's no sound. And my friends didn't see this. We watched this craft like a door, invisible door opened in the sky. And then part of the craft started disappearing slower and like slowly. The front was gone. The second section was gone. The third section was gone. But what my friends didn't see, what I kind of saw, was, to me, it almost looked like they were morphing into a triangle of geese. Now,
Wow.
now I'm not sure if I saw what I thought I saw. What I do know is that this craft flew into what looked like an invisible door and just kind of disappeared. There was never any sound. There was never any noise, no buzzing, no propulsion sounds, nothing. It was the big black triangle in the sky. So that was number one. The second one I saw happened a few months later, where I was standing with a friend and I was kind of consoling her because the man she was in love with had broken her heart. And, I was kind of like her, well, let's face it, we had friend zoned each other years ago. And here we were standing in her yard, and she had this long driveway, and there was like these 30-40 foot trees kind of pillaring her driveway. And it was a summer night. It was like August or something like that, of 2014. And she's sitting on a patio chair, and I'm kind of standing in front of her a few feet away. And she's like, I just can't believe what's going on. And all of a sudden something caught my attention as I looked up, right in between her driveway where this cathedral of trees were. And I saw the one triangle, this giant triangle. It was massive, massive. And of course, there's the three lights, just as everybody else sees in the corner. All the stars behind it are blacked out. It's probably 11:30 at night. And this thing is massive, massive. Now, I know I'm probably exaggerating here, but my imagination tells me this thing was so big that if I put it on the ground, it probably would have covered from Vancouver right into the Fraser Valley, which is about 100 kilometers or 62 miles. I mean, like I said, I could be completely exaggerating. I don't know. This thing, all I know was it took up an entire chunk of the sky. And so I'm standing there and I'm staring at it, and I said, holy shit, pardon my language. And she goes, what? And I pointed up. I'm like, look behind you. Stand up, look behind you right now. Because all of a sudden you get that panic, right? That anxiety panic, like, holy cow, am I seeing what I'm seeing? And we saw the triangle. Okay, so your typical triangle, and then it started to turn like this. And we're staring at this thing, and now she's freaking out because she's never seen anything weird before. And here we are, just the two of us, watching this giant triangle start to turn on its axis. And I kind of looked to the west because I could see flashing lights over there. And as I was looking, I could say, okay, that's a jet coming from Vancouver International Airport heading east. And as that jet got closer, the bottom light went out, the second light went out, the third light went out. But the really cool part about it was we could still see it in the sky because it was blocking all the stars. So we have this triangle, no lights on, the jet goes flying by, and literally this thing just vanishes. All of a sudden, don't know where it went. The corner lights never turned back on, but all of a sudden there's all these stars right where this craft was sitting. Don't know how it disappeared. Don't know if it left to the left, to the right, to the south, to the north, or shot straight up. Have no idea. No idea. All we know is it was there. It turned on its axis. Plane comes from Vancouver. turns its lights off, and then vanishes right after the plane flies by.
Wow. Do you think maybe you witnessed a cloaking at that point, or like a poof gone, like we described the observables?
I don't know.
Yeah,
That I don't know.
yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
amazing.
It was so fast. Like
Mm-hmm.
that entire section maybe lasted 2 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
because
Wow.
it never seems very fast. But that one, what really stuck out for me on that one was the absolute size. Once again, there was no sound, there was nothing. And the weird part about it was after I started the radio, right before I started the radio show, a couple weeks before, where she lived, we went about 20 miles into the mountains and with Samantha Mowat and a couple of other UFO researchers that I knew at the time. And Samantha is saying, there's a craft around here. There's a craft. I could feel it. There's a triangle. There's something around here. And we come out of the mountains. My phone gets hit with 10 text messages from my friend who says, where the hell are you? There's a black triangle hanging out over the mountains as I'm looking toward, because the mountains were behind her house, and we're in the mountains. We could not see that black triangle. Samantha Mowat is telling us there's a black triangle out there. And when we finally get into cell phone service, I get lit up that there's a black triangle sitting over the mountains and my friend is watching it.
That's great.
Crazy.
That's how
Crazy.
I felt with my last sighting in July, when I had people from 2 different towns, calling me while I was out there witnessing it myself. It was great.
That is
So
fantastic.
now we have our second story that's coming up, or was that both of them back to back?
You wanted my black triangles back to back, so I kind of told them both.
All right, perfect. I'm going to pause.